Fit for Life Radio, episode number 141.
141.
Gary and Will here. Today, we're going to be talking about some reasons why your body isn't changing.
Why are you stuck?
So, a lot of times when people embark on exercising and changing their nutrition, there's health reasons that motivate us. And also, when we're putting in this effort and work, people want to see body change.
Want to see change.
More tone. It's the lingo.
Tone.
Where you're leaner, more tone, things like that. Clothes fitting different. But sometimes, we do all this stuff and things aren't. Our body's not changing.
It doesn't happen like we maybe expected, or it isn't happening at all.
So what could those reasons be? Well, on a overall kind of bird's eye view, what happens is people just kind of, and this is good, especially when we get started. Yes, you start doing these things. But I've always said this since, coaching the last 17 years. It's very easy to go to the gym and waste your time.
For sure.
And a lot of times people will just push really hard, make myself really tired, and diet really hard, and just only eat green salads and avoid everything else. And that's not going to help your body change in the way you want it to, right? And the reality is the details and there's nuances make a big, big difference, especially the more advanced you get.
Yeah. The farther along you get, the more this stuff really does matter.
So we're going to go through some reasons why your body's not changing, what to focus on or look at. So for one is a lot of people get too concerned with so we'll start with training, working out. A lot of people get too concerned with burning calories.
Oh, yeah. And fitness trackers, while useful, have kind of made that focus worse.
And that's not going to really have the impact you want, and it's just a wrong thing to focus on. Instead, you should shift your focus on, are you progressing? Are you getting stronger with resistance training? Because you want to make sure you're maintaining or building muscle, lean tissue. And that comes down to people do too much variety and change things up too often typically.
Yeah.
And when you're changing your exercises all the time, for one, it's very hard for your body to kind of get good and get a muscular adaptation, because typically, say you line up a few exercises, it can take weeks and multiple times for your body's central nervous system to kind of learn the movement, and a lot of the progress you'll make will be based off of your central nervous system.
Just getting better at using your current body to move that weight is essentially what that is.
So if you're always changing things, it's really all just almost like stimulating your central nervous system, and it's going to be very hard to get super efficient at exercises, track them, and then notice little nuanced changes. Hey, I got 1 or 2 more reps. Hey, it's time to go up 5 pounds. And so ultimately, one of the best things you can do is do less exercises, less variety, more consistency with what you're doing, and then tracking those things, looking for progression. That right there, if you just switch from cardio, calorie burn mindset to I'm going to have a pool of exercises that I'm consistent with and track them, game changing.
You're good. Yeah, the focus is, I think, so much on feeling like you got what people call a good workout.
That, and to go with the feeling is wanting to feel entertained, right? And that's where it comes down to. You have to decide, realize that what are your priorities. If it's progress and body change, then ideally your workouts are going to skew towards a little more consistent and what one could call boring. I don't think making progress is boring.
No, I actually like having the same stuff.
But then whereas tons of variety, tons of different things, yes, for some people it may be more entertaining and fun, but realize you're sacrificing true progress and body change.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of find out where you are on that scale.
Yeah, and it's fine to have a mix too. If you have your key stuff that you do work on, and then maybe at the end of your workout, you've got a little bit of a slot for variety and fun things that you're well aware aren't exactly, moving the needle a ton. But if they keep you engaged and keep you coming, that little bit of a compromise is fine. You just don't want your entire workout to be one entertainment session if you are valuing that progress.
Yep. And then too, touched kind of in that is, and then make sure you're tracking and looking for progress. If you're just going through the motions, I mean, it's good to build habit and to be doing something.
Yeah, and to
moving,
have some activity.
but when it comes down to making body change and making things as productive as possible, you have to avoid going through the motions and kind of put that intensity in place. And when we say intensity, that doesn't mean like sweating harder, getting out of breath more. It means you're pushing your limits, with the resistance training, getting close to what you're capable of with good form and technique.
Yes.
So, but to do that, you have to typically like be paying attention, tracking, know what you're trying to do, what you did last time. And it doesn't have to be on every single thing you do, but
You could pick a couple and really
Yeah.
closely track them, and that could be using the Notepad app on your phone. Just log like, all right, okay, my bench press today, I did this, and you every week log that, and then you can see some progress. Or there's apps on your phone you can use. I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it. You could use a notebook, classic style, walk around with a little journal,
yeah.
which there's just something about that that's nice.
So another thing is, so along the lines of nutrition, is just not being completely honest with yourself, or again, maybe you typically need to track. Perfect example. I was chatting with someone, and they were talking about how their husband swore that she asked him what he had for lunch, and he swore he had whatever it was, but she knew because she had been home, and he had put his lunch in the microwave, but then forgot about it because it was still in the microwave. But he could have sworn that he had such and such for lunch. And the reality is, sometimes we forget what we did or didn't eat 5 hours ago.
Yeah.
Right? So if you don't plan and prepare nutrition and kind of, it's very hard to truly be accurate. And most of the time, we will underestimate what we consume.
And it's hard to recall everything, especially if you're having some like snacks between meals. A lot of those are so mindless, like we've talked about, and you forget about like the little handful of pretzels you grabbed on the way out of the house or whatever it may be. And like we're not going to remember everything. Yeah. So helping like plan it or like track it in the moment is a way better way to go.
Yep. Plan ahead and track. And what happens a lot of time is, and if you eat out a lot and things like that, people will then oh yeah, I went to whatever place earlier today, what did I have? And then they'll kind of put in their portions. But, a restaurant, even what's listed in there is probably not going to be accurate. It's probably way more. And then we're always going to, especially if we know, hey, I want to eat 1,600 calories, we'll have a tendency to kind of
make it fit,
plug in the portions to make it fit. So it could be good. Hey, we're tracking. We kind of have these goal protein and calories, but just because that's what we plug in
doesn't mean that's what it is.
Doesn't mean that that's what we actually ate.
That's the hard thing about eating out places. Like, you're not sure. Like, say you get a burger and fries. Well, if the serving of fries they give you is like, 1.5 times the size of a normal, whatever is actually
serving.
Measured, then how are you going to know that? And you're going to log one serving of fries like they have on their menu, and the reality is you ate like 300 calories more than was listed.
I mean, it could easily be like, I know the way Five Guys does their fries.
Just give me a bag of them.
You could have, I had a regular serving of fries. Plug that in your mind, you could be like, I ate a fourth of it, right? But in reality, they could be giving you triple the portion. You did eat a fourth of what they gave you. You plugged in a fourth in your tracker, and the reality is you really ate like a whole serving.
Yeah.
And then if that's once a week,
it's not the end of the world.
If you're eating out every day, if all your meals are kind of prepared by someone else.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
You're leaving a lot.
Yeah, you're leaving a lot, right? So then, in your mind, when we come back to, I'm doing everything, I'm tracking, I'm putting in all this effort. Yes, but the reality is, by not preparing any of your food or eating out a lot, it's going to be very hard to nail it down.
Yeah.
So ultimately, when it comes down to what's something we can change, a reason we may not be seeing the body change we want is we still kind of eat out a lot. We don't prepare and plan our nutrition much, and that's a switch that you'd want to make, is preparing and planning your food on your own a little more.
Yeah, and again, we've covered this a lot, and that could just mean all right, well, 1 meal a day is prepped or planned, and then going from there. You don't have to overhaul it and do all of them, but if you went from having, we'll say lunch and dinner out every day of the week, and you switch to making your lunches, well, that's 7 meals that you're in more control of, or even 5. That's still going to move the needle. So, don't feel like you have to overhaul it, but making that little change of preparing and planning something is going to really help a lot.
So there's training. Man, if you make these 2 drastic changes, if you go from cardio and calories to resistance training and recording, writing down, logging, tracking. And then if you go from eating out a bunch, preparing none of your food, to preparing more of your food and meals, and then you'll be able to more accurately track that way as well. Those 2 changes alone literally could be the difference, and you go from not seeing any body change to making steady, consistent progress, right? And then the third one we'll leave you with, so more mindset, is you have to not be impatient.
Yeah, because this stuff does take time.
Yeah, you got to ditch all or nothing, and you have to realize it's slow. It's going to be, for it to stick, it has to be kind of a lifestyle change anyways. So you want to reframe and have better, proper expectations. Because if you're like, I'm going to do this in 30 days, then
it's just not going to work.
It's not going to work, and then you're going to be disappointed, and then it's going to be no fun, and you're going to be discouraged. So reframe things, ditch all or nothing.
Yeah, just to help manage expectations better, and you might need someone to help you do that, like something we do. If someone's losing a pound a week and they're frustrated, it's because their expectations weren't framed right. So it's just understanding what actually should be happening, as far as maybe weight loss goes. And then if you're trying to gain muscle, well, that's real slow.
Yeah.
If, you get frustrated that you haven't put on 8 pounds in a month, then you're going to be, you're in for a long ride.
Yep.
Because it just doesn't happen that fast. And you just have to do, the consistent things through the week. That's it. That's all that you can do.
Yeah.
Patience.
So, yep. And like we said, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? When we say all or nothing, not just in how your results and speed of results, but also in your efforts, right? Like we just said, hey, it is ideal for progress and results to have the same exercises, super consistent, but you don't have to go all or nothing with that either, right? Yes, like Will said, maybe you have 3 or 4 exercises in your program that stay the same for a certain workout day, and then at the end, you have 2 or 3 things or a little finisher that you rotate through each time for variety and fun, right?
Yeah.
So you want to find that balance, but always, ideally, if progress, body change is a high priority, you do want to have these kind of principles in place of focus on resistance training, progressiveness. Is that a word? Progressiveness?
It is.
And journaling and tracking. Same thing with food. Focus on preparing majority of your meals. Trying to take more control. So only eat out a few times per week so that you can have more control. And then then also tracking, journaling. Very
And then your
valuable.
tracking will be more accurate if you're in more control.
Yeah.
So, and that's what it comes down to a lot, is it's just not as accurate as maybe we think it is, with situations like that. So,
And you don't want to be discouraged if you have been tracking and it's a skill, right? So you may not be as aware yet or good at it yet, or some of the entries could be wrong. And it doesn't mean it's wasted because you've gotten in the habit of maybe tracking every day.
yeah. So it's just refining that and maybe improving, making better choices in the app or whatever it may be that you're doing. That can, you can get better at that.
And then wrap it all up with the good mindset, ditch all or nothing thinking all around, and you'll probably start to see some body change if you've been plateaued or frustrated or not seen or ended up where you expected.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you're not seeing change, then, something has to change. You've got to do something different, especially if you've been in it for a while. So, and sometimes it takes, putting your ego aside and being okay with asking for help or, realizing, hey, maybe I do need to do something a little bit differently. So,
yeah. And that change is typically small. You know, it's not say someone, you currently track but eat out a lot. It's literally just, let me try making a grocery list and preparing one meal a day on my own, or and then eventually 2 out of the 3 meals, right? And slowly working on that kind of change. A lot of times, one thing I've always noticed is for a lot of people, actual punishment physically and mentally is not difficult for them. You know how when people are like, oh, I have to make change and I need to challenge myself, and everyone all would think, well, then that just means I need to make things harder, right? But for a lot of people, so many people, they can go push themselves until they're gasping for air and lying in a pool of sweat, and that's actually more comforting to them. And in reality, they may need to lower their intensity or do less of that kind of stuff and literally spend more time maybe walking and resting. So
that's
you could be like, oh, well, that's easy. But the reality is that may actually be, quote unquote, hard.
Yeah.
And what you need to do, the change you need to make.
The effort's easy. The implementation and doing it is very hard for a lot of people.
So if you're someone who's comfortable with basically only eating salads and trying to eat 500 calories a day and going and doing cardio for an hour and a half until you're exhausted, and you think, well, the change I need is more of that stuff. No, the change you need is the opposite, and you avoid it because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, because it isn't something that you want to do.
Because it's harder for you, even though it's not physically harder.
Mentally,
from an output standpoint, it's still physically and mentally is the challenge because it is out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, working out harder is generally, in terms of sweating and getting your heart rate up, it's generally not the hard part for people, and that's generally not what most people need. Most people need to rest more, to walk more, to focus a little bit more on their lifting weights and getting stronger, and within that, resting a lot. Too. That's it, dude. That makes people uncomfortable, and as a whole at our gym, everyone's gotten way better at this because we really push it, resting between your sets. People just want to go and go and go and rest for 12 seconds and get right back after it.
And by doing that, all you're doing is limiting what you can actually do.
Yeah.
Yes, you feel more fatigued, but you're actually lowering the intensity of your workout. And because intensity is you're not able to work closer to your max effort because you're so cardiovascularly fatigued.
Yeah, everything's fatigued. So your capacity is way lower. The amount of work you can do than if you were to rest and do way more, on a certain lift or whatever. So
it's literally an illusion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it we confound, being out of breath. We confuse that with, getting results. When in reality, when there are few exercises, when you're strength training where you're going to be, tasked. But for a lot of things, you shouldn't feel like you just ran a mile after you do a set of bench press.
Because realize exercise and training, it's right there in the word. It's training.
Training.
It's not competing.
We're not testing.
We're not testing. You know, obviously you are some point. If you have a sport, like, then you compete. But, you know, your regular routine that you're doing almost all year and multiple times a week should not be this all out.
Nah, let me do this as well as I can for all of my reps and try to get better slowly over time, right? Not like, let me test how many times, you know, I can do this heavy weight I've never tried before.
Yeah, with being super tired, right? Like you jump rope for, you know, 300 skips, and then you go run 2 sprints around the building, and then you go do your dumbbell row. Well, and then you do another round like that. You're taking away
your dumbbell row is getting worse
what
every
you can
time.
actually do, right? So, yeah, but somewhat of a tangent.
Yeah, that's fine. Tangents are okay.
All right, so hopefully that gives you some ideas. If you're stuck or plateaued, not seeing the body change you want, implement those changes, those nuance, that little bit of nuance, and it's going to go a long way.
Yeah, I think it'll help. So, yeah, just take an honest look and see if, you know, do I fall into any of these categories, and go from there.
All right, thanks for listening.
We will catch you next time.